guys, it's me Klarissica here on Klarissicasays, where Klarissica is on That's How I Feel. So we are back with another video, guys. And if you're new to my channel, welcome. If you're not, then hey fam, thank you so much for joining us today on this video. Fam, this is something that is very important, and I'm glad you guys are here today. If you are new, hi, I'm Klarissica. I do uplifting, motivation, trending topics, current event, hair, beauty, and more, and I'm glad that you guys are with us today. So we're going to be talking about the Russia and Ukraine war that we have going on across the world right now. I live in the USA, so that's nowhere near me. But we are seemingly maybe more so going to get involved in this whole situation. So I feel like it is very important for us to get some information on what's going on, more so details on what's really going on over there, why is what's happening over there happening, and how does that involve the USA. So what we're going to do today, like I told you guys earlier, if you haven't seen my video, I'll link it above in a card or down in the description box. We're going to do some further investigation on what actually is going on in Russia and Ukraine. So I'm going to give you my general opinion, and then we're going to do some research on some Google queries and look up some information on Google regarding this topic. If this is something that interests you, please make sure you subscribe, like, and share. Stick through this video and let's get into some details on this, because this is something we need to talk about, and it's something that needs to be expressed, focused, and shared, because this could be really World War III, and it can happen like this. So please take the time out of your day to watch videos like this and get more details on things like this that actually do matter. A lot of us are stuck in social media and just on topics that really are like gossipy topics, but it comes down to like real things. We don't spend enough time on paying attention to them in the first place. So please take the time out to watch this video to the very end. Leave your comments and thoughts down below so that I can have some dialogue maybe for my next video, because I don't think this is going to be my last video talking about this, because it's getting really serious over in the Ukraine. Okay, so or in the Ukraine or in Ukraine. So yeah, without further ado, let's get into this video and let's look up some things. Okay, I'm going to give you guys my first opinion on what is going on. Okay, so for those of you that don't know, and I could be wrong, but from what I have gathered and what I have learned in school, is that the Ukraine and Russia were one place, one country, one location, and they had a separation. And now Russia has his prime minister, or his, as we call it, president, and then Ukraine has theirs. Of course, Russia is a really big, one of the biggest country in the world compared to, Ukraine, who is basically like the size of Texas in America. So you have big Russia, who is going after the Ukraine, because the Ukraine has been borrowing a lot and using a lot of Russia's resources, and Russia is just basically saying, well, instead of us giving you, these resources, how about we just own you guys? How about we just have you guys back at the Soviet Union, how you guys, when all the war happened, all that kind of stuff. How about we just have you back as part of this country? And yeah, you won't be the president anymore. Yeah, you won't be in control anymore, but now your people can benefit off of Russia being one big place. And so Russia is now trying to go over to Ukraine and take over by, of course, creating this war. And because Ukraine is the size of Texas, come on, let's think about it. I mean, we have these stories in history of like one-man armies beating out hundreds and hundreds of men, but we have modern day technology now. Okay, so Russia is bullying, honestly, Russia is bullying Ukraine and other places, not just America, but included the USA, is basically offering services because it's not fair. Now, we have a mutual standpoint. We are not for or against what's happening. We are just saying you might need a little bit of help and you can't get it from Russia because Russia's is what who's coming against you. When in normal cases, Ukraine will get the help and assistance from Russia. So, I mean, we are that third party that's involved, that are friends with both sides. And Russia is basically saying you can't be friends with me and Ukraine at the same time. And we're trying to stay neutral. And that's where we're staying. The U.S. standpoint right now is to stay neutral. We have not claimed any legit allies. However, people are saying that we are allied with Ukraine because we are offering services of help to Ukraine instead of Russia, but Russia isn't needing services because of how big Russia is and how prepared Russia is, let's be honest. So now you have Russia invading Ukraine to basically bully them into giving up Ukraine. Basically, that's what it is. And we're like, I thought we got past this type of stuff. So this is what I have an explanation on, but I want to give you guys more details on what actual credible newscast broadcastings and other articles are saying, as well as like a world explainer, world politics and news. So this title is from the Sky News. Ukraine invasion, what happened, where is under attack, and what could be next. A total of 137 civilians and military personnel have been killed in Ukraine so far since Russia launched more than 200 attacks on Ukraine's soil, and fighting is going on in almost every part of the country. So imagine being in a country that has now war with a neighboring country. Literally, the neighboring countries throwing bombs in these little small situations in these locations. It's crazy. I don't even want to imagine this happening in America. No. And that's why I'm saying this is important, because see, all of these things could play effect. There hasn't been a war in America really since I think like the Civil War, Pearl Harbor happened, but like war like this it's been a while. Like, no, I don't want to experience that. So we got to figure out a plan here. Russia has launched a full-scale invasion of Ukraine, the Ukrainian foreign minister has said. Russian President Vladimir Putin told his citizens he had begun a specialized military operation on Thursday morning, and fighting is now going on in almost every part of the country. The Ukrainian government said 137 civilians and military personnel has been killed by the end of the day. An estimated 100,000 Ukrainians have fled their homes, because why not? Why would you stay somewhere that's going to be blown up and all that? For those that can flee, will flee. For those that can't, has to stick it out, and that's how it is. The UN Refugee Agency said, with thousands crossing into neighboring countries such as Romania, Moldova, Poland, and Hungary. So if you're looking at this map, you have Russia right here, you have Ukraine right here, and then you have all of the other neighboring locations that are right around that area. So people are leaving and going to this area, because see this little border? The people around Romania, Moldova, Poland, Hungary, they're not involved with what Russia's doing. So they can go over to these locations around, and they can go, people could flee anywhere else besides Russia and besides Ukraine to get away from this, because Russia is not going to war or trying to take over their country or their cities or states or whatever. They're trying to get Ukraine. So where did the military action take place? Conflict is reported in the following cities and areas. Before I say this, please excuse the pronunciation of these words and of these cities and locations, because I am not completely familiar with these with this dialect, nor am I familiar with these cities or states. So Ivano-Frankivsk missile understood to have hit Ukrainian airbase. Podilsk reports of at least 6 Ukrainian soldiers killed. Kyiv, explosions heard, a fire reportedly near the river, and reports of fighting at a nearby airfield. Oshkov, fire reportedly seen at the port. Mariupol, Ukrainian tank column seen heading for the city. Kharkiv, deep breakthrough of Russian troops reported along with death of a young boy. Lviv. Shelling reported nearby border post. Images appear to show Russian troops crossing the border. Luhansk, Ukrainian claims it has killed 50 Russian troops. Okay. Chuhuf, if Chuhaviv. Sky News understands missiles has struck airbase Odessa. Ukraine says at least 18 people killed in missile strike. This is what people are fleeing. They don't want to be involved and being included into this aftermath because you are a civilian. Civilians also do perish and die during wars. I mean, think about over in Iraq and all other locations. This is yeah. Sumy and Kherson. Ukraine claims fierce fighting underway. Donetsk. Explosions reported with Ukraine claiming 4 people killed. Brovary, at least 6 people reportedly killed. So this is some footage of, missile striking the airbase and some, like bombing action because of the missile. I'm not going to play that. U.S. defense officials have said Russia has targeted Ukraine using 3 main axes of assault. One from the south in Crimea, heading north to Kherson. A second from the north in Belarus, going south to Kyiv. And a third from the northeast, moving south towards Kharkiv. Okay? Kharkiv in the northeast of the country, command centers have been hit by missiles. Ukrainian media has reported. British expert Harry Lee, who is in the city, told Sky News he woke up to 5 or 6 bombs going off at around 5:15, and at one point the explosions caused his buildings to shake. How scary! Oh my God. Shelling has also been reported across the city, with Ukraine's emergency service reporting a young boy who had been killed when an apartment building came under fire. An advisor to Ukraine's presidential office added that more than 40 Ukrainian soldiers were dead and dozens have been wounded. Ukraine's military said it has destroyed 4 Russian tanks on a road near Kharkiv, where U.S. officials believe the heaviest fighting has been taking place. That's what it sounds like. Chernobyl. President Vladimir Putin forces have seized control over the former Chernobyl nuclear power plant near Pripyat, around 60 miles from the capital Kyiv. Following fierce clashes with government forces, according to the Ukrainian Prime Minister Denis Shmyhal, a Ukrainian presidential advisor earlier said his country has lost control of the Chernobyl nuclear site to the Russians after a fierce battle. So, of course, Vladimir Putin is going after all of the nuclear location plants because that's where they get the power to have missiles and bombs. If you don't have any nuclear power, you don't have any missiles, you don't have any bombs, so you can't fight back, and that's how they're getting their resources. So why not go after how they're able to fight Russia back, President Volodymyr Zelensky said the attack on the area around the former nuclear disaster zone was a declaration of war against the whole of Europe. Which also makes sense because other places in Europe do get resources from this plant, not just Ukraine. Okay, so they're going through each city and explaining what has happened in each city, and they're showing footage of what's going on in each city. So I'm just going to continue to scroll through so you can see some pictures through the footage, and we're going to go to the next article. Okay, this is really surreal. Okay, really surreal. So that's that article. Let's see. Let's type in USA interferes with Ukraine. Let's see if there's anything talking about. Okay, so this is 16 hours ago. 1 day ago, U.S. braces for Russian cyber attacks to escalate Ukraine conflict. The United States has announced the first wave of what? Has announced the first wave of sanctions on Russia after the invasion of Ukraine. Here's what happens next. So let's talk about these sanctions. Okay, as the Biden administration pushed publicly to avert a crisis in Europe, its officials privately gamed out scenarios for a Russian invasion of Ukraine. The result was a playbook for the White House to follow if and when the Russian troops amidst at Ukraine's borders mobilized. After a months-long diplomatic standoff, Russian forces entered eastern Ukraine following Russian President Vladimir Putin officially recognizing the independence of the separatist-held regions of Donetsk and Luhansk. The threat of cyber warfare also remains high after Ukraine was hit the most aggressive cyber attack in its history, which has since been traced back to Kremlin. The response from Western leaders has been swift. British Prime Minister Boris Johnson has announced he will freeze the assets of 5 Russian banks and 3 individuals, who will also be banned from traveling to the United Kingdom. Meanwhile, German Chancellor Olaf Scholz has halted the controversial multi-billion-dollar pipeline project known as Nord Stream 2. U.S. President Joe Biden said Mr. Putin's latest move marked the beginning of a Russian invasion of Ukraine, announcing a swath of sanctions aimed at serving Russia's financial ties to the West. You want to take really strong action against Russia once Russia has acted, said Max Bergman, a senior fellow at Center for American Progress who previously served in the U.S. Department of State. Until a full-scale invasion becomes a reality, he said the Biden administration must continue its diplomatic dance. I think that when that happens, it will be quite shocking, and it has happened, Mr. Bergman said. And then the Biden administration is going to want to not have to shoot every bullet out of this arsenal already. So basically saying that they don't want to put out everything they have in their book of game, in their playbook, before everything really starts to hit the fan. So they just started. So this is just the beginning. They're either going to wave the white flag or get way worse, and I see the second option. In 2014, the Obama administration and its allies in the European Union, Canada, and elsewhere took more than 6 months to roll out sanctions in response to Russia's illegal annexation of Crimea. Those sanctions hurt the Russian economy, but failed to stop Mr. Putin from making the biggest land grab in Europe since World War II. Again, it's war on land, okay? There's an argument that the 2014 sanctions deterred Russia from grabbing more territory from the Ukrainians at that time, said Christopher Miller, an assistant professor at the Fletcher School of Tufts University and author of Putinomics, Power and Money in Resurgent Russia. There was discussion of will Russia go all the way to Kyiv, which they have. For example, it didn't do that, and sanctions might be part of the answers for why, if it didn't, okay. But it clears that the sanctions weren't tough enough to get Russia out of Ukraine fully, and it still occupies part of Ukrainian territory, okay. So Mr. Biden said today sanctions go far beyond the step implemented in 2014. And Russia, if Russia goes further with the investigation, we stand prepared to go further as with sanctions. Okay, so step 1, squeeze the Russian economy. So that's the first thing that is the plan. Now that, I don't know how it's going to play out, y'all, but we just talked about the fact that Russia has invaded Ukraine. So this is what plans are, okay? The first step involved blacklisting or blackmailing Russia's big banks and oligarchs. Biden announced full blocking sanctions on 2 large Russian financial institutions, VEB and the military bank Promisbank, which is also on the United Kingdom sanctions list. He also promised comprehensive sanctions on Russia's sovereign debt. That means we've cut off Russia's government from Western finance. It can no longer raise money from the West and can no longer trade in its new debts on our markets or European markets either. Deputy National Security Advisor Dalip Singh told a recent briefing that the financial sanctions had been designed to impose overwhelming and immediate costs to the large financial institutions and state-owned enterprises in Russia. They've been calibrated to maximum alignment with our allies and partners. They are flexible to allow for further escalation or de-escalation depending on Putin's response. And they're responsible to avoid targeting the Russian people, he said. Mr. Singh predicted the results would be surging inflation and borrowing costs coupled with a shrinking economy and productive capacity. This would be a strategic defeat for Russia, pure and simple, he said. So we're trying to target their money. If they can't run the U.S. or Western funds through their economy, that's going to hit, of course, majorly. So due to that, and also the other allies, like as you saw the UK and other locations as such, getting involved, that would definitely hurt Russia's pockets. And Russia's too big of a company to be able to, not have all the resources that he needs or the company needs. But sometimes this may be a separation that Russia might want to have, be able to have their own finances, I would say, without the help of Western or other people that are allied with Western monetary systems. The second goal is to deter other world leaders tempted to align themselves with Mr. Putin. What we are going to see is real efforts to squeeze the Russian economy in a very comprehensive way, said Max Bergman, a senior fellow at Center for American Progress, who previously served in the U.S. Department of State. Hitting banks in this way and cutting off access to the Western money means that Russian state will need to bail them out. And so that will be incredibly costly to Russia. So help from Western, from us, so you got to figure it out, and in order to figure it out, you got to borrow money from somewhere else and pay them back plus interest. You're already in debt. Most countries are. So you see, so targeting Putin's inner circle. Next, the focus will move to the oligarchs at the heart of Putin's regime, with Mr. Biden announcing plans to impose sanctions on Russian elites and their families. They share the corrupt gains of the Kremlin policies and should share in the pain as well, he said. Dr. Miller said, while the option might be popular with American politicians, it may not achieve the desired impact. A lot of people in the U.S. and in Europe are under the mistaken assumption that oligarchs run Russia, he said. And so, somehow, you're going to get the oligarchs, to sort of push the Kremlin to change Russia foreign policy, which is backwards. In Russia, the Kremlin runs the oligarchs, and excuse me if I'm not wrong, and political power is centralized, and oligarchs have to follow the Kremlin's wishes, or they're jailed or exiled or killed. I had to play that back like, so somebody's running somebody, you got all these options if you don't follow them, okay? Mr. Bergman was more optimistic, arguing that focusing sanctions squarely on the top echelons of society may help insulate ordinary Russians from the worst impacts. Another key element of the Biden administration plan has already come to pass, with Germany withdrawing key documents needed to certify the Nord Stream 2 pipeline. We're going to look at what a sanction is for those that don't know, and what the Nord Stream 2 pipeline is after this. A reduction in Russia's ability to export gas and oil, however, could have far-reaching geopolitical consequences. Energy exports also accounts for 2/3 of the country's export value and revenue. Ooh. What will happen to Nord Stream 2? Maybe they talk about Nord Stream 2 in here. The European Union, which is already in the midst of an energy crisis, depends on Russia for about 1/3 of its natural gas supply. See, I told you guys, Ukraine depends on Russia. Russia's like, well, if you're going to depend on me, might as well be me. You're using me more so anyway, so why not just be under my control? The gas is pumped through pipelines from Russia in the east to heat homes and power industry in the 27-nation bloc to the west, often transiting through Ukraine and Poland. Russia, through its state-owned energy company Gazprom, has increasingly sought to excise its smaller neighbors from new gas projects, including the controversial Nord Stream 2 pipeline. So I'm guessing it's a big pipeline for natural gases and all this kind of stuff for energy. The 1,200-kilometer pipeline, which cost more than $15 billion to build, was completed in September, runs directly to Germany under the Baltic Sea. Wow. If allowed to move forward, it would significantly bolster Germany's gas reserves and bring down the prices for household accordingly because they have so much. It's being fueled so better. Like, hello. What, like, okay. Mr. Biden reiterated that the U.S. Would work with Germany to ensure Nord Stream 2 does not move forward. I don't get it. Why would it not be a good thing? Mr. Biden reiterated that the United States will work with Germany to ensure Nord Stream 2 does not move forward, adding that his administration would closely monitor energy supplies and how they could flow on to U.S. consumers. Okay, so maybe they're trying not to move forward because it's not helping the U.S. or any other person besides those people that are involved with it, which is not technically fair, helping the world as a whole. Let me know down below in the comment section how you feel about that, because I'm a little confused as to what's happening there. As we respond with administration, it is using every tool at our disposal to protect American businesses, yeah, that's what it is, and consumers from rising prices at the pump, because our prices are freaking ridiculous right now. So they're going to lower the prices up there, but raise our prices up where we're at, because they got to still shoot that over to where we are for us to be able to even get our gas, and it's freaking expensive right now, really expensive. Everything has gone up in America. Like, inflation is definitely here. From rising prices of the pump. As I said last week, defending freedom will have a cost for us as well, and here at home. That's true. Mr. Schultz was initially reluctant to further stall the project, but did so in light of recent developments in eastern Ukraine. The United States has long argued Mr. Putin was wielding the pipeline as a political weapon to tighten Russia's stranglehold on Europe's gas supply, which is what it is. I get it now, okay? While depriving Ukraine and Poland of billions in transit fees. So in order for them to get it, you got to pay for the transit, the fee to actually get it over to you, which is actually, see, I'm with you. A characterization the Russian leader has denied, but he's doing it. The Nord Stream 2 pipeline is essentially the fifth pipeline that Russia has built to reduce its reliance on Ukraine. So in order for them to take away what they need from Ukraine, they need that pipeline. But Ukraine has all of the energy, so he just will take over Ukraine. So he doesn't have to pay that 1/3 to, you know, Russia, or have to be involved. Sorry, he doesn't want to pay that money. Russia doesn't want to pay Ukraine, and Ukraine is using Russia as well. But Russia's just like, instead of me having to pay you to build these pipelines, help you with your services, all this stuff, why not just own you? And that's really how I feel. Australia gas offer to Europe amid Ukraine crisis. So because Russia has now got this pipeline going on, they are cutting services and ties with Ukraine. So now other places like Australia is trying to help make sure that the Ukraine has oil, has air, has heat, have the essentials that are needed, and ran with gas that has now been shut off basically due to this war. All right, I'm gonna read a little bit more, then we're gonna go to those two things: a pipeline, Nord Stream 2, and we're gonna look up what a sanction is, just so you know we can have a definition specifically, and then we're going to do my final thoughts in this video. So please continue to stick it out. If there's any questions you want to talk about, please leave them down in the comment section, because I don't want to miss anything, and I will be doing video updates regularly while this is going on. But in the meantime, stick it out. Let's keep going with more information. Waging an information war. So since 2014, the United States has not only sharpened its sanctions, but also its message, according to Nina Jankowicz, and Global Fellow at the Wilson Center, and author of How to Lose the Information War: Russia, Fake News, and the Future of Conflict. Okay, what we've seen over the past couple of weeks shows that America and its allies are really already really learning from the way that we were caught off guard in 2014 with the annexion of Crimea and the subsequent war in the Donbass sponsored by Russia. I think we have learned lessons that we need to be a bit more proactive. For months, Biden officials have engaged in a war of wars, attempting to disarm false narratives, painting the United States, NATO, and Ukraine as the aggressors in Europe. The administration has regularly declassified and shared intelligence such as the potential invasion dates and details of false flag operations to pre-bunk any disinformation of propaganda being spread by Russia's state media. Because there were things before this happened on Thursday, there were already propaganda out with a big Russian little face Ukraine, you know. So frankly, I think that's a pretty good strategy. She said democracies should not engage in counter-influence activities, pointing instead to the example of the Salisbury poisoning in 2019 when the UK government released evidence that the deaths of a former Russian double agent and his daughter were orchestrated by Russia's military intelligence agency. By declassifying intelligence containing details of the key dates or planning, the White House may deter the Kremlin from taking certain actions at all. We should always be on the side of the truth, and this is the kind of shedding light on the truth that we do need, right? But what might look like victory on the inside of government may not look very much like victory on the outside. Once you look at all of these things I already discussed, when you see all these people and all the people that are going through this, like, who's really winning, you know? Is this really for the people, you know? In the past, the goal of Russian disinformation campaigns inside the United States, Ms. Jankovic said, was distraction, ensuring Americans focused inward. Could a cyber attack happen on U.S. soil? It definitely can. And the other lingering threat is that other cyber attacks, which recently knocked out the websites of the Ukrainian army, multiple government agencies, and major banks. What is the importance of a cyber attack? Why is that important? Because listen, if we do everything when it comes on through Wi-Fi, Ethernet, broadband, the computer, social media, how are you going to get in contact with anybody if you can't physically get in contact with them? So how are these armies going to be able to talk with each other, connect with each other, do all the things they need to do if they can't use broadband, Ethernet, Wi-Fi, computers? That's what's important. In a subsequent press briefing, Ann Neuberger, Deputy National Security Advisor of Cyber and Emerging Technology, laid the blame squarely on the Russian government. Over the last decade, Russia has used cyber as a major part of its military activity beyond its borders, including to undermine, coerce, and destabilize Ukraine. For that reason, and that the president's direction, we've been working to prepare for potential cyber attacks since November. So they were kind of prepared, but that's the importance of what is going on. Okay. So like I said, you know, we're going to just go ahead and briefly look at what a sanction is. What is a sanction? Okay. Sanction. Now, a threatened penalty for disobeying a law or a rule. So basically, what we're talking about, all the sanctions, when America's basically saying, let's prepare a playbook, and these are the consequences for Russia doing what they did or did not do. This is what they're talking about. This is what it is. Official permission or approval for an action. Okay. He appealed to the bishop for his sanction. Okay. A range of sanctions aimed at deterring inside abuse. So that's what it is. Now let's see, what are examples? Just so you know, fines are the most common penalty imposed. Community correction order CCOS includes a range of programs that allow the offenders to be supervised. So this is sanctions on like people, legal sanctions on people. So we're talking about sanctions in a country. What are sanctions in countries? These sanctions were put in place over China's alleged genocide and human rights abuses primarily against. Okay, so this is talking about an example of how we had to put sanctions over China due to what they were doing at one point in time. I'm not going to go into those details because that's not what we're trying to do. Here we go. What are the purposes of sanctions? This is where I wanted to. I thought that other one was going to tell us that. That's not what it told us. Okay, so what are the purpose of sanctions? Economic sanctions, typically a ban or on trade, possibly limited to certain sectors such as armaments. I don't know what that word is, so I'm going to look that up. Armaments, or with certain exceptions such as food and medicines. Okay, diplomatic sanctions, the reduction or removal of diplomatic ties such as embassies and military sanctions, military involvement. Okay, more items. Let's just see what else it has on there real quick, real quick, real quick. Sports sanctions preventing one country, people, and teams from competing in the national or international events, and sanctions on the environment. Since the Declaration of the United Nations Conference on the Human Environment, international and environmental protection efforts have been increased gradually. Okay, so let's look at this word real quick. Real quick. Armaments. Okay, so military weapon or equipment and equipment. Armament. Okay, so that's what that is. I didn't know what that was. Yeah, I didn't know what that was. I never seen that word before. So, where was that word? So, economic sanctions, typically a ban of trade, possibly limited to certain sectors such as military weapons and equipment. So basically you lessen resources, you stop trading, you ban certain types of military equipment or even military equipment being delivered or traded or given as a resource for certain people, food and medicine, water, all that kind of stuff, necessary things for survival and funds. Okay, that's what that's talking about. So and Nord Stream 2. Just to go ahead and get the full thing real quick. Okay, so real quick, Nord Stream 2. Oh man, I don't like when I have to read like this. Nord Stream 1. Okay, Nord Stream 2. In 2011, Nord Stream AG started evaluation on an expansion project consisting of 2 additional lines, later named Nord Stream 2, because they have named Nord Stream 1, to double the annual capacity up to 110 billion. In August 2012, Nord Stream AG applied to the Finnish and Estonian governments from route studies in their underwater exclusive economic zones for the 3rd and 4th lines. A plan to route additional pipelines to the United Kingdom was considered but abandoned. Okay, if they did, there would have been more on their side. In January 2015, Gazprom announced that the expansion project has been put on hold since existing lines were running at a half capacity due to EU sanctions on, which is economic. Once you just talked about that, sanctions on Russia following its annexation of Crimea. Okay, so we talked about that because of what happened with Crimea. We already discussed there was some sanctions, some economic sanctions placed on Russia, which basically didn't make that Nord Stream 2 run fully. We're going to skip to 2021. On November 2021, European natural gas prices rose by 70% after Germany's energy regulators suspended approval of the Nord Stream 2. On December 2021, Polish Prime Minister Mateusz Morawiecki called on Germany's newly appointed Chancellor Olaf Scholz to oppose the startup of Nord Stream 2 and not give into pressure from Russia. On a visit to Rome, Morawiecki, I will call on Chancellor Scholz to not give pressure from Russia and not to allow Nord Stream 2 to be used as an instrument for blackmail against Ukraine, which that's the point, an instrument for blackmail against Poland, and instrument for blackmail against Europe, against the Union, because this big old pipe could fuel so much, and now Russia has all of this energy, all of this, all of this ammo, and it's like that one place should have so much control. So that's that. Okay, it is in the Baltic Sea. We already know that. We already talked about that. Middle and Eastern Western European pipelines. Nord Stream is connected to 2 transmission pipelines in Germany. The southern pipe runs from Greifswald near the German border. It connects Nord Stream with a Yamal Europe pipeline, which is also connected to a Russian gas transport route, and I'm looking to see if any of these, because this is a Western pipe. Western pipes from together model pipe is created. Further gas delivery to the United Kingdom is made through a connection between Bona and Den Heider, and from there the offshore connector interconnects. Okay, and then the Nord Stream 2 is connected to the NEL pipe and European gas pipe link, which runs largely parallel to the Opal pipeline. Okay, all right. So that's what the Nord Stream is. What it is, it's a pipeline that's for gas and supplies. We already discussed in the other article that we just talked about. I don't know if I get the title to that article that I was reading, but it was, just in case, it was titled, "The United States has announced the first wave of sanctions on Russia after the invasion of Ukraine. Here's what's next." I definitely think I did read that. So yeah, guys, that's where we basically stand right now. That's where we basically stand right now with everything that's going on. That's what it is. So I genuinely don't know how I feel about all these details. I don't really know if we're going to get more involved. I feel like as things progress, we will get more involved because we have no choice to get more involved, because at this point, Russia is trying to really take control of the Europe pipeline for gas and resources and just everything. And they're big enough to kind of control, but think about having one country control everything in the U.S. when it comes to resources, the economy, etc., etc. That's what you call world domination. And so, I mean, I've heard of things talking about people being a one world government, one world currency. It's like have all these digital currencies, all these other kinds of things like that. But I just don't know. I always thought like China or something would be like that, not Russia for some reason. I don't know why. Because for me, I feel like China has all like the technology boom, all that kind of new stuff, and Russia has all the resources, and so does all other places too. But when you start to do your research on this kind of stuff, it makes you realize that you don't really know really what's going on around the world. Like I feel like even if you like, if I lived in Europe, I feel like I would know more about what's going on in Europe. I wouldn't really know what's going on in the US. But being that I live in the US, I know what's going on in the US. I'm not so much focused on what's going on in Europe or China or places like that. And I feel like that's where we fault. We need to know these things. We need to do our research. We need to stay on these things because, see, people, for instance, that were able to flee, they probably were listening ahead of time like, hey, you know, this is what's going to happen. Get prepared. And so you don't want to be that person that's not paying attention and then it's too late for you to make decisions that are needed. Okay, so with that being said, I don't want this video to go too long, but I just wanted to make sure I did a little bit of research. And since I was going to do research anyways, I might as well have included you guys. If there's something we want to talk about that I did not talk about in this video, I try to make sure I touch upon every single question through the articles that I read that you guys might have. So if I missed anything, if you want an update, if you want more dialect, more articles, another video like this, please let me know in the comments down below. I'm so here to give you guys more info. And with that being said, I love you guys so very much. Please stay safe, please stay smart, please stay healthy. You know, you might need to go ahead and get your extra food put to the side. Get you a deep freezer. You might need to prepare yourself to be prepared to not have certain things available for a couple of weeks, months, maybe, you don't know, but I would be safe than sorry. When I say these things, I'm being serious. Get you your water filters, your water conditioners, just in case. We may not have running water. You actually drink tap. I'm just saying, you never freaking know, and this is what other people are going through. And it is very foreseen. It is freaking crazy to think that this could happen to America. But if it's happening other places, then it can happen here as well. And I mean, I don't believe in my heart it will happen. So don't get me wrong. I don't think so. But again, it's better to be safe than sorry. I mean, if you live by that, you're never disappointed. So make preparations if necessary, because you never know. It might just be, and I just helped you out in this video. Be prepared. Don't be shocked. Don't have a shock factor. Be mentally prepared. Be aware of what's going on and be vigilant. Okay, with that being said, thank you for watching this video. Please make sure you subscribe, like, and share this to one person. Just one person. Just for one person, please. And thank you. And I will see you guys on my next video. Peace, love, and blessings. Have a wonderful evening.